What's up, guys? It's Missy. I'm back with another SimCity Build It video. Today we're going to be talking about groups. Now, the reason for this video is because I had somebody hit me up that they were in a group and they were super active and that the group was basically garbage. And this happens all the time. People hit me up that they either are running a group with garbage members, or they're in a group with garbage members, or that they have a few members that they like and they don't really want to leave, but they don't get the help that they need. So this video is going to be about how you as a leader can make your group better, or as a teammate. Okay? So before we begin, hit that like and subscribe button. You can join us on Facebook at SimCity Build It, MissyAnneTTVYT. We also have a Discord that you can join. The link is down below. And if you are wanting to be a member of my group, then you'll want to watch the group rules video and make sure that you guys fit the requirements to do so. That will mean that you are either a low-level player on the Missy's Building Guide or a high-level player that has a decent city and plays the Contest of Mayors competitively each week. Okay, so let's talk about the president side of things. If you're running a group, the first thing is that you need to set group goals and requirements. What this means is that whatever you want your group to be about, you need to make that very clear in your group description. Okay, so if you want it to be a war-based group and war only, and you want people to meet a certain points requirements, then you need to say, hey, this is what our group is about, this is what we expect of you, and enter in with that mindset. Don't just expect people to be that way and just be active group members without at least disclosing that that's what you want. Okay, you can go to like Facebook or Reddit and you can look for ways to advertise your group and say, hey, we're a war group, this is what we do, this is what we expect, and so on. If you're not a war group, if you're a Contest of Mayors group, then you can say, hey, this is the chest that we hit each week, or we're trying to hit the legendary chest and we're short just a few people, and we require that you get this many points each week. Usually, people put the points too low. If somebody is saying that 30K or 50K or even 100K is too much, then odds are they don't know what they're doing in the contest and you should direct them to my channel. Okay? If somebody's only contributing 3,000 points, just enough to get the group chest, but not actually trying to help anybody earn it, boot them out. That's not cool. All right, so the next thing is if you're not a war group and you're not a comm group, but you're just looking for active players to play casually, you need to make that very clear that this is not it's not a hardcore group. It's not meant for, serious gaming. It's just meant for like casual, do whatever. Hey, how you doing? Okay, make that clear. The next one is that you guys can set up like a Discord or Facebook to communicate with each other in a group chat. This could be helpful for, starting war or getting in new members, communicating with each other if, you need an item urgently, or if there's like broken rules and you guys want to discuss it as a group, make somebody vice president, whatever the case is. You guys can communicate with each other outside of SimCity so that you guys can get stuff handled a little bit better. Sometimes the chat on SimCity is a total pain in the butt, so we do our stuff on Facebook. Okay. The next one, make sure all members are active and productive. Now, this one is probably the most important thing. First off, if you're a member and not a president, just know that the president has a really hard job. It isn't easy to be the leader. Secondly, if you are the leader, it is your job to make sure that your team is a team and that nobody is, how do I put this? If you're not bringing anything to the table, then you shouldn't be sitting down to eat. Let's put it that way. If you have people that are sitting down every day for dinner, but they're not providing anything to supply that dinner, then they really shouldn't be allowed to sit at the table. Okay? And it's your job to make sure that they're not. What people will do is they'll join groups that are really active and they have a couple of really good members in it, and they'll just kind of feed off your being successful. Like, you're being active, you're filling the requests so they don't have to because you're doing it. Everybody should contribute equally. And if you see that somebody is just mooching off people, or they're not pulling their own weight, they're not being successful, they're using the items for, stuff that really isn't necessary or wasteful, you don't want people like that in your group. It will drag everybody down. Okay, you might think, oh, it's them, it's their game, it doesn't matter, they can play how they want to, it doesn't affect me. Well, you're wrong. It affects you and it affects your team. The better their storage is, the more items they can hold, and the more requests they can fill. If they are playing terribly and they're constantly broke, then they're going to constantly be asking for free items. If they're constantly broke, then they're probably not going to be able to help you with filling requests. So their success, it helps you be successful. Everybody has to be successful in order for your group to be successful. If everybody within your group is having a hard time and they're struggling, they're not going to be able to put up decent points in war or calm. So unless you're just a casual who gives a crap group, then that does affect you. Okay? So make sure that all of your group members are productive. Now, the best way to do that is to take any question that they have about the game and honestly just refer them here. Just say, look, go watch Missy's video. Here's the link to this or that, and make sure that they educate themselves on the game. Okay? Okay, the next one is kind of the same thing of what we kind of just talked about, and that is don't allow people to use the group and play as a team. Okay, so kind of the same thing. But before we get into that, you want to have a typed version of whatever rules it is that you do have, whether it be the requirements, whether it be, hey, you can't post rares unless somebody's actually at your depot, or you can't have a closed depot. Whatever your rules are, get them typed up and send the document to anybody who is, joined in or whatever. But have a set group, have some kind of structure. Even if you don't really care to have a whole lot of rules, have some kind of structure. Because believe it or not, you might think that people don't want to join a group with rules. And maybe a lot of people don't want to join a group with a lot of rules or a lot of structure. They just kind of want to do whatever. But nobody wants to be in a group that runs like crap and that isn't successful. If they want to be slackers and not contribute to that success, then you don't need them there. If you have some kind of structure to your group, it's going to be more appealing to people when they want to join. If you say, hey, because believe it or not, starting a group is not easy. You have to find the people first, and until you have people aren't going to want to join. One of the things to get people to join in is you have to have something to offer them. You have to say, look, by you being here, you gain this, this, and this. You're going to give this, and you're going to get this in return. If you have nothing to get in return, they have no reason to stay with you. So what you need to do is you need to say, look, I'm recruiting members. We just started a group. This is what we're going to expect of our players. And, if you want to join in, here's our club code. These are our requirements. Instead, what people do is they go on Facebook and they say, hey, you know what? The first 5 people that join get vice presidents. No rules. Free for all. Do whatever. That doesn't appeal to people. That only appeals to people that are really immature, that have to feel like they have a purpose. Like, oh, yay, if I get there soon, I can be in charge. That's going to appeal more to children or people who are really immature. Now, if you say, hey, I'm starting a group, these are what our requirements are going to be, this is what's going to be going on, that's more structured. They're going to look at that and they're going to go, okay, this has some qualities about it that are, successful. And if I go with this group that's just starting out, they're going to require that people be successful. So I'm not going to have to be in a group where people aren't successful. Okay, so that's going to help you tremendously. All right, the next one. Playing as a team. You need to make sure that everybody within your group is actively participating as a team player. And we're going to talk more about what that is when we get to the members portion of this. But basically, your job as the leader is to make sure that you don't have people in there that just are kind of doing their own thing and never really talking, never really helping. They're only talking when they need something, but never filling requests. It's your job to monitor that and make sure that that's not happening. So even, you know what people will try to do? They'll try to be like, well, I contribute a lot of points, so I don't have to be an active member of the chat. That happens a lot. They want to be in a group for when it is helpful to them. Let's say that they put up 200,000 points in comm each week. They feel like they are beneficial to the group, right? That they're an asset, that you're not going to boot them because they get 200,000 points each week. So they don't have to be active like everybody else that gets 120,000 points because they put up the most points. They can just use the group however they want to because they put up the most points. That's not cool. Okay? So whenever they decide to speak, maybe once that week, when they need something, they expect that you guys be there for them to fill their requests. But they feel superior to you because they put up all these points. Don't allow people to do that. Okay, you need to make it very clear to people that even if you are contributing points, you still have to contribute in the chat. Part of being a group is being able to play as a team and help each other. If you allow people to just sit back and do whatever they want and only speak up when they need something, no one's going to be around to fill that need, and then they're going to end up being like, well, no one's around to fill my need when I need it. Well, if you're not filling theirs when they need it, then you really have no place to complain. But people don't see that. All they see is what they need, what they want, me, me, me. You don't want people like that in your group. Trust me. Okay, so get them out of there, whether they just be like, look, I know you put up a lot of points, but that's not all that it takes to be a good team member. I'll boot somebody out either way. You have to be active, okay? All right, so one system that we use is, first off, a lot of people in my group are on the Missy's Building Guide, which means that they are very successful. Very early on in the game, they max out their storage, they max out their land very quickly. So one thing that we use to monitor the system is to see who needs storage and dozer, because nobody is going to be globaling rares in my group. You put this S dash whatever your base storage is /D if you have land unlocked, or if you have land left to unlock. This allows people to know what your storage capacity is and what you know, if you're still currently collecting dozer. This is also helpful to them when they have to make, you know, offers for trading. So if they see that your land is maxed out, then they know that you're probably going to have dozer, right? And that they need storage. So if you have storage that you want to trade for dozer, you can probably hit up all the people that are maxed out, and they'll be more likely to have higher quantities of it, right? Okay. Or vice versa. So let's get to the next portion of this video. The next portion is the member side of things, and this is the most important part of the video because there's a lot more members than there is leaders. Now, if you are a vice president, let's talk about that for just a second. A vice president's job is to assist the president with whatever that president says your duties are, okay? So if they say, look, I want you guys to monitor these group rules, make sure people are following it, or I want you to boot people out that are inactive, I want you to start war at this time, whatever it is that they wanted, whatever makes you vice president, then that's what you do. You do whatever it is to assist the president to alleviate some of the stress and drama on the president. In my group, vice presidents are everybody within the group is supposed to monitor. Everybody. If anybody in my group sees a rule broken, it is their job to not only speak up and say something, but they have to tell me as well. It has nothing to do with being a rat. It has to do with everything being functional. Okay? If people are breaking rules and you just, oh, I'm just going to be quiet about it, I'm going to yell at you just as badly as them. And then I'll just boot you out. Because, believe it or not, we need things to function. I don't put up with broken rules. They're too easy to follow and they're there for good reason. So, in my opinion, you guys should do the same. Now, not everybody's going to be that way, and that's totally up to you guys how you want to run things. So, give your vice presidents some kind of goals or whatever they're supposed to do, and there you go. Okay, the next thing, members. If you are a member of a group, what should you look for, what should you do, how should you be, all that good stuff. In fact, I'm probably guessing most of you watching this were referred by somebody within your group or your club leader that says, hey, go watch this video. I want our group to be better and more successful, so I want everybody to watch it so that we can all start practicing these methods to make our group a better place. First thing is being active and productive. Okay, so if you are broke all the time, figure it out. Don't just expect everybody else to loan you coins, help you, and all that. Go watch my production video, watch my storage management video. If you are not successful in any other aspect of the game, epic projects, whatever, there is no reason whatsoever for you guys to be struggling. None. With my channel out there, you can be unbelievably successful, and there's no reason for it. So the next point would be being active. Even if you just are popping on for a couple of minutes, just a simple, hey, does anybody need anything? We'll get the chat moving, and you can fill a request or two while you're there. If you plan to be off the game for a couple of days, stock up your depot to make up for your absence. Okay? Playing as a team, you guys need to look out for each other. If somebody put in a request in the chat and it was 5 minutes ago, ask, hey, do you still, if you found it or you do have it or whatever, say, hey, do you still need it? If so, I just found some on global. Look out for each other. Don't just ignore people's requests because you didn't have it and then in 5 minutes you do. If you found your item, tell them that. You know, if you requested something and the chat hasn't moved, try to be like, hey, you know, I did find these. We're all good now. So that people know that you got what you needed. Playing as a team could be a lot of things, really. It could be looking out for each other with rares. You know, like, hey, you're playing competitively this week and I'm not, and I have all this extra VU. So if you end up, you know, in a jam, hit me up on Facebook and I'll take care of you and make sure you can get through this week. People in my group do that all the time. So the next thing is never globaling good items. Now, this is probably one of the most important things, and I'm going to try to explain it as easily as possible. So here's how it works, okay? Whatever level you are will determine what items you're producing to make coin. There are certain items that you produce to make coin versus items you produce that you actually need to keep. Items that are, quite frankly, hard to find on the global market. So, being that this game is 100% item-based, basically, what you're going to do is you're going to be producing, let's say, donuts and flour for coin. Okay, so this is just a scenario. So, I know that I'm playing competitively this week, and I have no melons prepped at all, okay? Because I've been producing donuts and flour to make coin. Part of your prepping for the contest is making sure that your inventory is filled with items that you may need throughout the week. It is not your group's job to provide you with all these items that you didn't prep just so you could sit there and make more coins. But let's say that you did prep melons and you used them all throughout the week and now you're in a jam. You don't have any. So now you have to ask your group for, let's say, 3 melons for a flight, okay? And so they give them to you, and you proceed to go on with the contest and what have you. And then you come across melons, whether it be on global or you made them or whatever the case may be. And you global them instead of selling them to your group members. The person that sold you those had to take time out of their production to sell you those melons. If I'm selling you melons, it means that I had to stop my donut production in order to make those melons at some point, right? So let's say that I prepped all day yesterday and I ran a bunch of tokens on paint and ladders and melons to make sure that I had what I needed for this contest. Throughout the week, there's been lots of requests for ladders and paint and melons, okay? I had to take that time off. I couldn't make donuts and chairs and blue tecks and caps to make good money. I had to make the stuff that I needed. a request came in and I filled it. So now I have to replace those items somehow. And those items are not easy to obtain on the global market. So if I end up in a situation where now I need whatever I gave you, I have to go to the group and I have to request it. Okay? If other group members are filling those requests, playing as a team, all is well. But let's say you're not doing that. Let's say that you're selling those types of items to global instead of to the people within your group. That is horrible. That is the worst thing you can do. Okay? So, how many of you guys sell paint, ladders, melons, planks, smoothies, backpacks, microwaves, corn, all kind, cream, bread rolls, flour? How many of you guys sell that stuff on global for coin? That is one of your biggest mistakes you're making. Not only do you not sell those items for coin because they're not profitable items, but you're really hurting the people within your group. Those are items that they would probably buy if they saw them on global. So why are you globaling them? Why don't you offer them to your group first? Okay, so in our group, the only thing that we global is money makers. Things like donuts, nails sometimes if you're producing a lot of them, chairs, caps, blue text, gnomes, pizza, TVs, bulbs, anything that yields a good profit. Something that is not hard to find. Okay? So let's say that I have 5 ladders in my depot. And I have to go global because I have all kinds of stuff that is just garbage that I need to unload. Okay? I'm not going to global my depot with 5 ladders sitting there. I'm going to tell somebody in my group, hey, I've got these ladders that need rescuing. Can somebody grab these? And either they're going to take them because they need them or want them or whatever, or they're going to take them and they're going to repost them in their depot so that somebody within the group can benefit from them being there at some point. Okay? Rather than them just go to global. Now, how many people in your group don't do this? How many of you guys sell cement all the time? For high-level players, those can be turned into gnomes, which are an extremely profitable item if you can purchase the cement glue for high-level players. It is really, 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 really important not only for your success in making money, but in your group's success overall. One of the main reasons that people even play as a group is for the items to be transferred between group members. The whole purpose is that you guys can fill each other's requests. Everything is basically item-based, right? So if you're asking for items, make sure that you state exactly how many it is that you need. Even if it's a guesstimate. Let's say that it's for a flight and you don't know exactly how many you need. Well, you're going to know better than I do. If it's planks, it's probably going to ask you for like 20 of them. So you're probably going to need about 20. Whatever the case may be. Okay? Now, let's say that I ended up having to make 11 yogurt and somebody gave me 11 melons. So I said, you know what? This time, when I finish the contest, I'm going to make a bunch of melons and I'm going to offer some of those back to the person that gave me 11 so that they don't have to take as much time out of their day to prep the items this week that they gave me because they were so many. That's one thing that I do for people that have helped me a great deal. Same thing with regional items. Regional items are very hard to obtain. So if you have somebody within your group that's selling them to the global market, I would be livid. Okay, the next thing is shopping on the global market. If I'm on the global market and I see a ton of regional items, not only am I going to buy them for myself, but let's say I go to a depot and I find like 60 bread rolls. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And I have the space and the coin to grab them. But I don't need that many. I'm going to grab them anyways for my teammates. And I'm going to say, hey, look, I've just found a ton of bread rolls. If anybody wants some, I've got tons of them up, or I'll sell you 10 or 5 or whatever the case may be. That is what it's like to play as a team. And think about it this way. If everybody in your team practices, or even 75%, can you imagine how much smoother it would be to complete your assignments? How much easier your epics will be? How much better your overall experience for the game is going to be when things run functionally. When you don't have items being just snagged by global because somebody didn't wait to post them. When you don't have nobody on to fill any requests at all ever because everybody's being selfish and inactive. When you've got people that are not contributing at all and just selling all kinds of items that you would have loved to have. Okay? If you had known that they were actually posted. Another thing that you can do is say, look, my depot is up for grabs and I'm going global in 5 minutes, and then list whatever items that are good there and say if anybody wants to rescue these or take them, they're there and up for grabs. That's what I would do. Okay? So the next one is maximizing your jackpots. A lot of people will launch jackpots and then they won't even say that it's there and that it's open. So what we do is if I launch a level 2 jackpot and there's some health left on it, or even if there's not, I say open jackpot, ready to bust, or I say open jackpot and they can go over there and they can kill it, and then it's their job after they've killed it to say open jackpot, ready to bust. And then if somebody busts it open, they say jackpot busted open, and then they keep updating the chat and we get the most out of our jackpots. Now, even if you're not a war group, you should still maximize your jackpots and share with your teammates. Okay? Okay, the next one is retrieving good items. Oh, we talked about that. Okay. Let's see. Always say the amount when asking for items. Talked about that. Never global rares or post rares if people are not at your depot. So this is a rule that's in my group. I suggest that you guys follow the same. If and when you do rare trades, you should, always trade 1 for 1. Now, I consider rares to be VU, dozer, storage. If you want 1 camera, then you trade me 1 VU, 1 dozer, 1 other storage item. Okay? Before you post that item, we use this abbreviation, let me know when you're here. LMKWYH. They say here, then I post it up. I don't post it up until they're actually at my depot because oftentimes people will go AFK or somebody on their friends list will take it or they had an item on global or whatever. It's always some drama. Make sure the person's actually at your depot, okay? Don't post more than what the original agreement was for. Many times people will just post a couple extra to be nice and then the person doesn't have the space and somebody snags them or something. Or it's annoying because now this person has to go back, unload, and then go back. Okay, so just always make sure that you post whatever the amount was for, or, if you're going to be giving to people, say, hey, I've got 15 storage, this is how much space you need. You need 15 space to pick all this up, okay? Be specific. Another thing, and this is kind of a pet peeve of mine, is when you request items, a lot of people will use really annoying phrases. They're trying to be polite, but honestly, it makes your stuff get skipped over. In my group, I would prefer people put the number and the item as the request. I hate when people use the emojis. It clogs up the chat. But what I would do is I'll say something like 5 tape, okay? And then you say 3 tape up, or 5 tape up. Or if you say tape up, that means they're all up, okay? Now, when I say something like, hey, does anybody have 5 tape? It looks more like a message rather than a request. So unless I read the full message, I could easily skip over it, not as a request, especially if you type the numbers out, like FIVE, instead of an actual number. It doesn't catch the person's eye very quickly, and they could easily skip over it, okay? So I always encourage people to make it short and simple and direct and to the point. All right, let's see. If you have global and are posting items for people, you should make sure that they're at your depot before you post. That's very true. If you are, and a lot of people do this, they have something like sugar on global, and they think, oh, nobody's going to buy this sugar. Nobody's been here for a long time. I can just easily post these 5 ladders for them, and they'll be here. No. Global people are freaking savages, and the moment that you post anything that is decent, like ladders, paint, anything, it's gone, okay? don't just assume that since you only have one stack of sugar advertised that those ladders are safe, because now this person's going to get there and they're not going to be there. And that is the most annoying thing ever. When you finally think that your request is going to be filled and all that person had to do to ensure that you got your item was just wait until you were actually there to post it. I will boot people out if they do stuff like that. It is not a race. We are not running to find our items and hope we get there in time. That is ridiculous. Don't do that to people. Okay, you really shouldn't. Let's see here. If you have a large request for items, offer those items back to the person later if you have them. Talked about that. Community depots. Okay, so we have 2 community depots. One is a Missy's Building Guide city that somebody had made. They had ended up quitting playing the game because of health reasons, and they donated the city to the group. So basically what it is it is a depot run by me and the co-president. We open up the depot, we post everything up there for cheap, and basically it is people either donate to it as a group, like, hey, I've got some extra hammers if you want to pick these up, I've got some extra textiles, whatever. You go around, you collect everything from everybody who wants to donate to it, and then you post everything up for free. Okay, now in our group, the community depot rarely has anything posted for max. Usually I do the war items and the airport items, mountain and beach at max, because most people don't buy them. And if they don't buy them, I don't want Daniel to get them for cheap. So usually I post those for max. But everything else I usually post for pennies. Now, another thing that we offer for our community depot is a loan. Well, not really a loan. It's more of like a free cash-in. So it's kind of like a security safety net. Now, nobody really, not that nobody's ever had to cash in on it, but it's rare that people cash in on it because they do so well in my group. But basically, let's put it this way. Let's say that you are just starting out and you're, struggling a bit on coins, and you run flat broke, and you have important things that you need to do. You're in the contest or something. You have an epic project that needs finishing. Instead of having everybody within the group constantly posting items for cheap trying to get you through it, what we do is you can come to the community depot for like I don't want to call it a loan because you don't have to pay it back, but we offer to group members a free 50,000 coin safety net. Okay, so they don't have to worry that they won't be able to finish an epic project or the contest of mayors that week or whatever. If they end up needing more than that, I will give them more than that, but they have to be somebody who is actually productive. And it's not just like, hey, I just joined your group, I've been here a couple of days, and I'm struggling, so here, cough up $100,000. Doesn't work that way, okay? If you're somebody who plays really well and productive, and you had a really expensive week, and you need a little help, then that's what that community depot is for. Now, when you guys post items for the community depot, let's say you're donating to it, I don't expect people to post those items for free. That would defeat the purpose of the community depot. They post them for max, and then the community depot posts them for free. Now, a lot of people ask, well, how do you keep the community depot funded? Surprisingly enough, the taxes and the items that are made on the community depot are pretty much fine. I've never really had an issue with it. It stays at about 1 million coins all the time, and I've never really have any problems. It's pretty easy to keep it afloat when you're not spending anything, really. You're just taking items that you're making, or every now and then you are buying stuff, but usually the taxes are covering that. And then another thing that I do is I always add at least 3,000 points with the community depot to make sure that it gets the group chest, which is 120 cash and 15 rares each week. That provides the group with 30 rares just with that alone. When we get hit in war, I will do cheap repairs for war items for the group members. That is also very helpful. Yeah, that pretty much sums that up. A community depot can be very, very helpful to your group. The person running it is usually probably going to be the president, but If you're somebody who is very active and you have a lot of feeders and you want to give back to the group, have a community depot. Talk to your president about it. Okay, open and close depots. In my group, we do not allow people to have their depots closed. If they are transferring to their feeder, they can close them for about 5 minutes, but everything in everybody's depots is up for grabs unless the person requested it in the chat. Totally up to you guys how you guys run your groups. I don't find it necessary to close off the depots. I think it just creates drama, and yeah. So that's totally up to you guys how you want to run things. That's how I run things. Next one is looking out for your teammates. So, for example, if I know that somebody is broke that week and they say, hey, I'm taking the week off from the contest, I got to make coins. Well, I know they're going to need a lot of textiles for flour and whatnot. So if I see a depot full of texts, I'll snag them up. Be like, hey, I just found a bunch of textiles. I know you're making money this week, so if you need them, I got them for you. If they mentioned that they had to do some, I don't know, yogurt task or something, and I find a bunch of cream, I know that they're probably going to be out. So, hey, you know, I've got that. Just kind of look out for each other. Just be mindful of what people need or some way that you can help. If you notice that, you know, somebody had requested something in the chat 10 minutes ago and nothing's been said, maybe ask, hey, do you still need it? I'll help you look for it or whatever if you don't have it, instead of just simply ignoring the person. Okay, next one is basically what I just said. Pay attention to the chat and the requests. A lot of people only open the chat when they need something. That's not helpful to your group as a team, okay? If you're the type of player who just says, you know what, I'm only going to talk when I need something and I'm never going to fill requests, that isn't helpful to anybody but you, okay? You requesting items doesn't help your group. It only helps, you know, the fact that the group is active because you're requesting items, but if you don't give, you're not helping, you're only taking. Okay, if you expect people to be there to fill your requests, then you need to do the same. More often than not, what ends up happening with groups is you have a couple of players that are really, really, really active and they kind of carry the entire group. And then you have these players who kind of pop on throughout the day, or maybe they are active, they just don't talk because so-and-so always has it covered. It's not fair to them to have to constantly pull everybody else's weight. If you see that somebody in your group is really active and they're constantly posting and making sure everybody's good, maybe you should help that person out a little bit and say, look, hey, it's not, even just throw it out there in the chat to kind of get everybody else to understand. It's not your job to fill everybody's requests. Let me help fill some of these requests. We used to have a guy, he would try to fill every single request that came in. And it was like his goal was to have 5 of everything just so he could fill requests. And yes, that's great and all, but he was so team focused that he had no focus for himself. He was being used. In other words, people were just taking advantage of that, and that is not okay with me. We also had a kid come into our group. This was several years back, and she was using her allowance to buy Sims cash, and then to make friends, she was selling rares that she was buying with cash to people just to have them like her. I'm not okay with that, okay? I don't approve of people using people, and I no longer have kids in my group for a number of reasons. I recommend not having kids in your group if you're a group that is wanting a lot of activity, as you can't really expect a child to be active when they have school and things like that. So totally, again, that's more of a preference. I don't do well with children in the group. They don't listen, they rude, they have school, and there's a lot of conversations that they really shouldn't be in there for. So we don't take anybody who is under 18 anymore. All right? If you are looking for an active group, one where you have to be very productive, you can join us, but you do have to submit in this request to join, not on the game. You actually have to contact me or Star. If you're a low-level player, you need to be on the Missy's Building Guide. If you're a high-level player, you need to have a productive city. And whether you're high or low, you have to have a, how do I put this? You have to be very productive. Okay, so if you're a high-level player, you have to be playing comp competitively. Same thing with low-level player. You have to be productive and working on something. Some people, they think that if they join into my group, that by their joining in, because they're surrounded by successful people, that automatically means that they'll just be more successful. Just simply joining my group doesn't mean you're going to win comm. You actually have to do the work, right? I've had a few people join, and they're really active, and they fill requests all the time, but they suck at playing the game. They don't do well in the comm. They think they're going to come in here and they're going to put up 80,000 points each week and just fill requests all week. Well, you know what? That's great and all, but I want you to be successful. And I don't want somebody in here that's just filling requests and not being successful overall. That's not the type of player I'm looking for. I'm looking to actually help people. If you're in my group, you're taking up a spot that could be used where I could be providing my knowledge of the contest to help people better their gameplay. You're just taking up space to be an active member, which, like I said, is great for other groups, but not for my group. So if you're joining in my group assuming that, oh, well, you know what, I don't really win each week, and I have this high-level city that has okay stats, so I'll just join her group, I'll be really active, and I'll bank in on the legendary chest and just do whatever. That is not how I do things. Okay, you actually have to want to learn and be successful if you're in my group. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys, for you guys who are in a group or maybe run a group or whatever. Hopefully it helped you. If you have people in your group that are slacking or your group members are terrible, refer them to this video. You can click the share button, copy the link, and send it to them, whether it be on Discord, Reddit. Another thing is we are almost up to 3,000 subscribers, so before you take off, hit that like and subscribe button. And I always appreciate any time you guys share my videos on Facebook, Reddit, all that good stuff. So thank you for that, and I will see you next time.